Thanks for having me and for allowing us to discuss this important subject. The UNESCO, the Mijikenda Kaya Forests became national monuments in the 1900s, the late 1900s. And soon, in 2008, they were enlisted as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Now, these two processes have a great impact, particularly at the local level. What that means is that UNESCO, by inscribing them as UNESCO World Heritage Site, it means that it enhances their protection and conservation. By making them national monuments, it also means that they also become very relevant to the state for protection and conservation. Now, the challenge here is that the local people were not involved in these processes. And that is where the challenge is, because they felt that the state took these landscapes from them. And UNESCO, by UNESCO inscribing them as World Heritage Site, it meant for the local people, it meant that the resources that they had protected for centuries are no longer theirs. They belong to everybody. And that meant that they they began to have the process of trying to have something out of it before it's distributed. That was the assumption, that perhaps they are losing their heritage by making it of outstanding universal value, opening it up to everyone. Now, does it benefit local people? Ideally, by a site being inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the idea is that it helps with economic growth. It could contribute to tourism. But the landscapes that we are talking about here are quite interesting. It's not like the Cologne Cathedral, where a lot of visitors can come. These are villages. These are very rural areas where people are living. So what is the attraction there? So this has become a little bit of a challenge for these areas to even attract tourism. And the question is, should they even attract tourism in the first place? Because tourism could actually endanger the authenticity, we call it that way, of the same sacred areas. So by allowing people to come in, it could mean that they are discrediting these sites. And therefore there has been a debate whether to commodify the sacred forests, whether to open it up for tourism. And I mean, there's a discussion around that, and people are worried whether that will actually diminish the cultural value that they attach to these forests. So in a very clear sense, we see here that it's not really clear to say whether it has benefited people. We see these kinds of debates just being there. And as this continues, with UNESCO having enlisted them and them being national monuments, the community is left there wondering what is the outcome of this at the end of the day. When will they benefit? Because benefits here means that they are getting something tangible. We do fieldwork and ask people, has there been any benefits that you have received? And they say, well, look here, I have a family. I need to farm for them. They will be happy that, yes, this was recognized as of outstanding universal value. But what does that mean for my family? Does it bring food on the table? So in terms of culture, this is great for them because it acknowledges that their culture is essential in the sense of being recognized as something authentic and important for the world. But does that recognition then translate to food on the table? That is where the challenge is. So I wouldn't really say with certainty that they have benefited or they have not benefited, because here benefit means the tangible benefits that you could actually relate to the site. I think those are two good points. I mean, the whole inscription process is very technical. It requires experts. It requires, I mean, UNESCO says it could go even up to 2 years. And this is experts involved in describing these areas and trying to market them for their inscription. Now, the challenge here is that that expertise came from people from the National Museums of Kenya and not from the community. And that is why communities here feel that they were not involved in the process. And they do not actually understand that kind of a process so far. So that means that, I mean, there was nothing to do with compensation because nobody was taking their land from them. But I think from our own findings, we feel that when these heritage sites were inscribed by UNESCO, it meant it raised a lot of hopes at the local level, and people were expecting much more. They were expecting more benefits, or whatever kind of benefits that they can be able to receive. For the elders, this is interesting. For the elders, they say, our heritage has been recognized internationally. But these are people who already retired. They may not have the much needs that the younger generation have. And therefore, there's a confusion, particularly between the elders and the younger generation, as to what extent this process of heritageization, this process of making them UNESCO World Heritage Sites, what that contributes particularly to different groups of people in the Kaya Forest. When we started the project, we thought it would be necessary to have a research stay where the entire group, the project team, meets and interacts together in Bonn. And this has been really the main highlight of this entire process, where we get the opportunity to sit together, to discuss things without having to meet via Zoom. We discuss issues, we consult each other, we expedite our outputs. So the main highlight here has been the fact that we come together as the entire team to work together, to think through these things together, to consult each other, and to be able to even review each other's work. The second highlight has been that the research stay here has given us the opportunity to present our work to different forums. We were part of the cultural, the Heritage Week here in Bonn, where we presented our work. We got feedback. We also have presented our work to the University of Bern, University of Zurich, to the internal colloquiums here, to the public lectures here. Today, we have a forum organized by the Global South Studies Center, where we are also going to present our work and get feedback. So this has been my two highlights. And of course, during the process, we have also had fun to sit together, have a coffee, to unwind together. Concerning how it was organized, I think it was not possible to have the 2 or 3 months together because the Ethiopian team came a little bit earlier. And of course, it's also based on how they organize their calendar. And therefore, I mean, we appreciate the fact that we had to stay with them for a whole month. And this was quite important. Otherwise, I cannot say that there was any critical issue around this. I think for us, it was very well organized, and we appreciate the team for actually taking that initiative. It is not easy to organize such kind of a forum where you're bringing people from different countries. The logistical arrangement, that was quite a lot of work, and we are really thankful. And also quite thankful to the support from the VW, because they made the financing possible, and the team has been quite comfortable living here. I've been involved in a number of collaborative activities since my master's period. I've been working in big collaborative research centers. And one thing I've come to appreciate is the fact that research is better done in a collaborative sense. That means bringing different disciplines, different expertise, different experiences, senior scientists, younger fellows, working together to address pertinent problems in a collaborative manner. That's, for me, one of the important takes I have, particularly for collaborative research. Of course, we notice that depending on the funder, there are some inequalities, especially when you think about the South and the North. And I have the experience working with the DFG funded project. And here the challenge is to fully integrate or to fully involve African partners, because DFG has very strict regulations on who becomes a project lead. That person must be based in a German institution. And therefore, we have been trying to resolve, together with our partners, University of Bonn, University of Cologne, they have put a lot of efforts to try to address this inequality and try to make these partnerships more stronger and more equitable. I personally feel that the model that VW takes is very interesting, because unlike DFG, VW, the Volkswagen Foundation, allows resources to be used in Africa and gives autonomy to the southern partners to actually implement a project, to set up a research team, and to be able to be in charge of the project from the onset. And this, I think, for me, has been the greatest difference that I've seen between VW and between the DFG projects. Recently, I think a year ago, there was a petition signed by the universities of Bonn, University of Cologne, and very many different actors, including institutions that are not universities, to try to challenge the ministry, particularly to address these inequalities in DFG-funded projects. I don't know to what extent that helped, and I think it raised a lot of concerns at the ministry. I'm sure about that. There were some media discussions around the same, but these are structural issues, and they are not very easy to resolve, and they have implications in the way they are resolved. But we feel that as a recommendation, particularly the model that VW takes is quite important, because personally I am able to form a team very easily with the other projects, particularly the DFG funded projects. If I have a PhD student in my own local institution, it means that they have to be registered in Bonn, and they have to get their PhDs from the University of Bonn or Cologne or whichever German institution. And that means that as African partners, we have not much control about the process, and we are not fully engaged in the activities of supervising and guiding the entire process. It will remain an issue for some time, but we are hopeful. To be frank, I'm really happy that the University of Bonn took the bold step to actually try to challenge these structural inequalities by allowing me and my colleague Helen Kamiri to be based in Bonn and take leadership in a DFG-funded project, while at the same time being based in our institutions, because only then could we be able to actually be part of the project. So that has, I do not know whether the University of Bonn can try that again, but it was a huge administrative nightmare. And I think Detlef Mullermann and others really pushed to make sure that this happens, because I think it is in the interest of German institutions to make sure that their collaboration is equitable. So, but I think they really tried to come up with, and the rector was very supportive of that. And we have been together now since the last 4 or 5 years. And that is the only way to sort of, to sort of find a solution. But if the structural inequalities are addressed from the ministry and from the DFG fraternity, perhaps then, it becomes better. Our interest actually is to see research being collaborative and being also equitable, where we do not have structural challenges interfering with the way research is to be conducted. Because the Germans or the German institutions and researchers highly depend on the southern partners, and we also depend on them. And that's how collaboration should work, where we feel that we are jointly, we are not just meeting virtually, but also we take leadership and we address things in a more equitable manner.